Okay.
So it is my pleasure to introduce everyone here to Helen Lundström Erwin, who is a novelist and of historical novels about Swedish history and founder of the Foremothers Café. It's a VR destination that celebrates a location in one of her novels, which is the site of a lot of debates and discussions regarding reproductive rights, suffrage, and the abolitionist movements of the 19th and 20th centuries in Sweden. And that became the sort of symbol and center of this meeting area that I hope Helen will be discussing in better detail than I can describe. Um, but it's also a site of a lot of interesting discussions and events that we will be able, I'm sure, get invitations to um, during the course of this thing in the chat line. So without further ado, I would like to turn this over to Helen to talk about the Foremothers Cafe.
Sure. Thank you so much, Michael. That was a wonderful introduction. I have a slideshow, but before I start the slideshow, I could just say that just like you said, Michael, the Foremothers Café is inspired by one of the settings from one of my historical novels. And this historical novel is called Sour Milk and Sheep's Wool, and I will show you pictures of it in a little bit. And it's about women in Sweden at the turn of the 20th century who first started to gather to discuss temperance. And temperance, if you're not familiar, what that was women try to get their men to drink less alcohol because they realized if their husbands were too drunk, they didn't have control in their own households. They didn't have enough money to buy food for their families and their children because usually it was the men who worked, not always, but often that was the case, especially in the middle classes. And the men were they basically, as they said, drank up the money. And also another reason was that if the men were too drunk, they couldn't space their pregnancies because they couldn't talk to their husbands about maybe waiting a little bit with sex because they had just had a baby. And contraceptives were extremely controversial at that time. So that's a different story altogether. And let me see if I can share my slideshow now. I think that might be easier. Let me see here. Do this. And then let me just see how to get this so it's bigger so you see the whole thing. Let's see, it should be like this. Yeah. So yeah, as you see here, I was born in Sweden and I moved to the United States over 30 years ago. So I feel very American now. And let me just move zoom away so I can control what I'm showing you here. So let me see. And yeah, I spend a lot of my time doing research, and most of my books, all three of my novels are historical novels. And James's Journey that you see on the left there is American history set in the 19th century. And that's the book that Michael mentioned before. That's about abolition and the underground. And then Sour Milk and Sheep's Wool that you see in the middle there, that's the book that my cafe, the Foremothers Café, my VR world is inspired by. And my newest book, The Lore of Water and Wood, is inspired by Swedish mythology and court cases in the 17th century surrounding two Swedish mythological creatures. If any of you who are here are Swedish, you will probably recognize Näcken, who's sitting in the river playing violin, and the Skogsrå, the forest rå, who was a forest sprite who hid in the woods and had a hole in her back underneath her, beneath her hair. And it's very interesting history surrounding the people who actually believe these two creatures being real in the 17th century specifically. But let's move on to the Foremothers Cafe. So when I first learned of virtual reality. I'd never really heard about virtual reality at all. I was sitting at home writing books set in a much earlier time. They didn't even have plumbing or electricity really in most of my stories. And virtual reality was completely new to me. And then I realized that, wow, if I started working with virtual reality, people could actually travel back in time and go inside my stories. And we both said before, this is the book Michael was talking about, Sour Milk and Sheep's Wool, and how my character has a, excuse me, in my book, she has a cafe where she gathers with her women friends to advocate for temperance first and then women's right to vote. And it became such a nice community of women and also their allies who met regularly in her cafe. And it became a very nurturing and warm uh, environment. And also, they had discourse there and a lot of debates and conversations. And that really inspired me. And I thought, wow, what if I would do this in VR? What if I had a cafe like that where we could meet and hang out and have conversations? So that's what I did. And I started by drawing pictures of how I pictured the cafe. And I got in touch with two amazing world builders who you may know, Cos and Christy, Austin Kane and Christy Fennison. And they as I said, I started by drawing these pictures and I sent it to them. And then we started to collaborate and I started to send some pictures of architecture from Lund, Sweden, where the Foremothers Café is set. And I sent pictures and they started building. And the first picture they sent me was the one you see on top on the right there. And I was like, oh, really? This is just a square. And then it got better and better. And let me just see here. And now we have this. And they did an amazing job with this. They did such a good job. It's a beautiful place. And I would love for you all to come visit it. And we'll see. And on the inside here, I have the dining room. And if you look on the left there, let me ask, can you see my mouse? I haven't done a Zoom presentation for so long. Do you see it?
Mhm.
You see my mouse. Okay, so you see here, it's a little hard to see here in this picture, but it is a
Mhm.
banner that was held at suffrage march in 1918. And in 1918 in Gothenburg, there was it was the only nationally organized suffrage march, and thousands of women and male allies joined this march. So even though my book begins in 1889, I chose to set the cafe in 1918 so that I could have this banner there. And that banner is also on the cover, or actually the original banner is on the cover of my book. And if you see here, the three women, if we start here at 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, these are three Swedish women who are historical figures, actual women who are part of the storyline in Sour Milk and Sheep's Wool. And there are honored foremothers in the Foremothers Café. And here on the left, you probably recognize Sojourner Truth, who is an American abolitionist and suffragist, or was an American suffragist and abolitionist. And she was a former enslaved woman as well. And she has a she makes a cameo, I could say, in my first book, James's Journey. So she's also one of our honored foremothers. And then you see it from another angle here. And the frog here, we have a frog theme. Uh, in the cafe, and there's a nice reason for that. When Hannah, my character, first hired her baker, on the first day of the job, they sit down to eat together, and he opens his lunchbox, and a live frog is in his lunchbox that his daughter had packed for him. So Hannah thought that was hilarious, but the baker was kind of freaked out. But she named the cafe the Frog after that. But I call it the Foremothers Café because it is for us, people who live today. It's not for my character. And then here's the bakery, or like my character called it, the scullery. And if you're not Swedish, you may not know what these things are hanging in the ceiling, but they're Swedish crisp breads. And Chris, you might know of this, and because I know you've been to Sweden. And then let me see. Then here, this is our community discussion series, or a photograph of it. And then I changed the room around and put the chairs in a circle. And I usually have a guest speaker who sits next to me and talks for just a few minutes about a topic. And then I ask a couple of questions, and then we discuss the topic together as a group, as a community. Then let's see here. And fika means coffee break with friends, and something sweet to eat. So every Thursday at 1 p.m. we have fika. And it's actually become one of our most treasured events at the Foremothers Café. And today actually was the second anniversary of my first fika. And we just had a little celebration at the Foremothers Café just before I got here to this meeting. And we're also very, very excited by the fact that there are no borders in the metaverse. And we have guests from Turkey and Kenya and Canada and the Netherlands and from all over the world. And we really treasure that. We think that's wonderful. And we also celebrate holidays together. If I go back here, you'll see, oh, I can't go back. Whoops. That didn't work. Let me see. Let me quickly go back again. Hold on. Sorry about that. Um, yeah. And let me just make this bigger again. Yeah, you see here we celebrated Canada Day this summer because one of our guests are Canadian. Hi, Robin. Did you have a question?
Uh, oh, hi.
Hi.
I do have a question, but I'll wait until you're finished, Helen.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So see, and so I just wanted to go back to this image with Canada Day and another celebration, there's actually two here in this video that I'm going to play. One of them, part of it has sound, the second part does not have sound. So, and that the reason is I will not sing in public, especially not solo. So, but the first one is a very unique Swedish tradition called Lucia, and we performed it live in virtual reality last year for the very first time. And then this summer, we celebrated another Swedish holiday, and I will talk through that part of this video. But I'll start with this one first.
Santa Lucia.
And this one here is a Swedish midsummer celebration, and there are special dances that I was teaching, and you sing aloud together when you dance. And I will not sing that aloud; it's too embarrassing. I don't have a good singing voice, but everyone was a good sport, learning how to do these dance moves right here. And if you're Swedish, I'm sure you can guess which moves these are. And I can say they are very fitting for the Foremothers Cafe because it's on the same theme. But let me leave that there for now. And whoop. And then we have Foremothers Day, where we all come together to celebrate our own foremothers and our mothers and grandmothers. And we do that every November 30th because November 30th was my own mother's birthday. And I started this on what would have been her 86th birthday. And since then, we have done this every year on her birthday. And it's a really lovely tradition. And people bring in photographs of their own mothers or grandmothers or great-grandmothers. And it's really beautiful to share that with everyone. And then here, and this is the last slide. And at the Foremothers Cafe, the whole community is excited about the fact that the cross-cultural connections that come from this. We truly believe we're changing the world. Sometimes it's one conversation at a time because we meet in the Foremothers Cafe and we're from all over the world. And it's something that we treasure at the Foremothers Cafe. And let me just see, I'm going to stop the share. Or should I leave it on if somebody wants to go back to the slides?
You can leave that up for now and we'll just have the conversation.
Yeah.
Rob, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. Hi, Helen.
Hi.
So, one of the things that I think about and am impressed by is that sense of community. I've been to the Foremothers Cafe a number of times, and um, you know, community. It's an interesting thing. Like, how many people does it take to make you feel like you're in a community? And I was wondering, I guess, if you could talk about um, like sometimes I've been to going to the Christmas event, for example, there were lots and lots of people. And sometimes the discussions are maybe only 7 or 8 people, but actually that's enough people to have an interesting conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I know you said at the beginning that when you first opened, so to speak, the Foremothers Cafe, but I
Yeah.
just wondered if you could talk a little bit about developing a sense of community and what strategies you've used and continue to use to try to grow the community bigger, if that's your intention.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that, especially today, because I was saying before it was the second anniversary of
Hmm.
Fika or coffee
Hmm.
hour. And the reason I say that it's today is because the very first person who came, his name is Ruben, and he lives in the Netherlands. And he remembered it because you know how when you join an engage event, they send you an email. And he said he usually deletes those. You have an event or you're visited an event or forget what the email says. But he saved it so he remembered the day. So when we
Huh.
celebrated our 2 years on Engage 2 weeks ago, when we had more of a happy hour splash thing, we he told me, next week, what is it today, the 16th, or 2 weeks from now, that's the first fake guy, he said. So today we had a little surprise for him because every Thursday at 1 o'clock is when we have our fake hour or coffee hour. And so we had a little surprise for him because he was my first guest. And as we were saying today, the first time he came, it was just him and me. And we were just sitting there together, the two of us. He came back every week. And
Wow.
if he hadn't come, and if I had been alone there every week, I would have given up. I would have just had the
Mm.
discussions and certain other cultural, traditional traditions that we celebrate, but it wouldn't have been that regular thing. And I think that regular meet every week. Sometimes there's two people. Today, I think we were eight uh, altogether, and other times there's four or five. Uh, and that and also it's since it's recurring every week, people come and go and then they join and sit for a while and then they learn that yeah. um, every month we also have our discussion series and it's kind of just grown organically actually, but I do think it's the coffee hour and that regularity of doing it every week that's made the difference. And
Mm.
also art exhibitions, trying to have twice a year or so, also I think help because they are usually at least for a day or more, and they're all day long. So people pop in and out.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but yeah, it's kind of grown organically by itself, which is just amazing to me. I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, but I think
Thanks
you
to
put a lot of
you.
effort into it.
Okay.
You organize a lot of events and you promote them, at least on LinkedIn, I know. I don't know where else you spread the word.
Yeah, LinkedIn, I think is works the best, but I do it on Blue Sky and Instagram and Facebook as well, but it
Wow.
doesn't have as many takers there as it does on
Hmm.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really great for it. And then I send calendar invites too, which help for my
Hmm.
discussions, not for the coffee hour, but for my monthly discussions and art exhibitions and stuff, extra things, so to speak.
And can people join, since it's on Engage, right? People don't have to be in a headset. They can just join from their
Yeah,
laptops, right?
you can join on a laptop, even on the phone if you want. But I think it's kind of hard on a phone. The screen is too small. So I
Mm-hmm.
usually recommend a laptop at least. Or if you
Mm-hmm.
can't do it on a laptop, at least on a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, laptop, I think is the
What's
best alternative.
what's the how would you put the ratio of people who do it in headset compared to laptops or other devices?
The most are in their headsets, but I have a couple of regulars who come on their PCs every time. Um, but it varies, but just generally, definitely more people in headsets.
Misha, you got a question?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm based in Vancouver, Canada. I'm actually also here because I'm a digital media artist. I've worked in the industry for almost a decade now, and I'm just putting it out there that the whole industry of video games and animation has been in a major, major turmoil. So, first, I wanted your perspective on how this VR side of things is evolving, and especially post-pandemic, because I did contribute to various VR projects as a VR tester and developer. And it's kind of interesting how it's kind of feels like it's been dwindling, but then at the same time, for those, especially how comfortable they are with VR, have felt around the tools, right? And especially now with like the whole Google system coming out, right? Like if you know which one I'm referring to, I just forgot the full name, the Vision Pro, that's it.
Oh yeah,
How that's kind of affected the industry, both hardware, software, and stuff. Because I'm looking for obviously more work opportunities in the near future too, but I know funding for projects can be also quite limited and challenging to obtain. So I was
yeah.
hoping to gain your perspective on that, and maybe if you're interested, we can follow up later one-on-one.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely. Yeah, funding is really tricky. I keep trying in many ways, and I apply for grants. And the Foremothers Café is fiscally sponsored, which helps me. It opens door to more grant applications, which so far it hasn't really done too much, but I have more options to try. And also people can leave tax deductible donations, which is good. Um, but funding is definitely an issue, and I'm actually in the process of applying for a grant right now. And one of the questions is, what is the biggest challenge? And I was just writing, it's the funding. We need funding. So, um, but I don't know if that answered your question or part of your question. Could you
Yeah, no,
remind me what
that's
the other
very
part
good
was?
to hear for sure. And
Oh,
regardless,
thank
you know, as long as those working on projects can feel like, hey, I'm getting something out of this, whether that's through marketing or even if it's not funding right away to pay me a salary, because just for context, living in Vancouver, it's an extremely expensive city to live in, and
you.
um, the job market is, as you say, very, very voracious and competitive. So,
Hmm.
and it just seems like a lot of people are getting more into now real estate and stuff, but like even that's really hard to go by considering it's like all these tech jobs and people driving around in Teslas.
Hmm.
I'm like very confused. It's like how the effing hell do they afford these cars, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know either. I wonder the same. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think
Right.
in the broader discussion, not to get off track too much, you know, the VR, the big explosion that everyone was thinking about starting around, you know, the mid-aughts, um, didn't happen. But VR is very much, I think, taken root in industries where the physicality of being in a VR application. I mean, obviously, the gaming is one thing, but
Hmm.
in terms of professional applications, places that need simulation training have embraced VR a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and they generally have the resources to maintain it and keep it going. At K-12, it's sort of just an experiment. They, you know, Meta tried in that sphere, but they were never able to, you know, it's too difficult. Schools have got too many problems to worry about maintaining tons of headsets. Therefore, you don't really have the critical mass of non-game content that you need to
Hmm.
make it a mass adopt uh, platform. I mean, what Helen's doing is because of her
Mm.
passion for creating these spaces. And it's great to have people from all over the world drop in just to have a conversation. It's,
Hmm.
you know, it's a way to spend time. And the beauty of when you have a meeting or a social event in VR is your memory is of having done something. Even though
Yeah.
you've just been interacting with avatars, your memory
Hmm.
of the event is as a real event, not as something you watched on a screen.
Yeah.
So that's what's so special about it, and why I just hope more, you know, more projects like the Foremothers Café take hold and people turn up in
Mm.
headset.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think also once it becomes more adopted and people try it in a headset for the first time, I think a lot of it is that people don't truly understand what it is. Many still think that
Mm.
it's some kind of Zoom meeting. They don't, or a game. They don't really understand it, but they just need to put on their headset one time. They don't even need to go into an event. It's enough sometimes that they stand in the lobby. You know how you go in and there's the Horizon lobby, and now they have a new room there. It's your immersive apartment or something. I just realized this week they changed it to. Just for them standing there in their head in a headset is it opens their minds and people have that first oh my god, and when more people do that, I think things will change, but it will take a while.
Mm. I have just another question. I don't know if it's quick and you don't have to give us a lengthy answer, but since you said you were looking for funding, I'm just curious to know, and I was going to ask this earlier anyway, like what are your plans? How would you see expanding this?
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I'll try to keep it short. Well, so my book is about two women, actually. Hannah, who has a cafe, is just one of them. The other woman is based on my great grandmother, who was an unwed mother and stigmatized for this.
Mm.
And so there's a whole other side of women's history, of the women who did not have agency or the ability to speak out. And so I want to expand the Foremothers Café and add more buildings that has to do with the struggle women lived through during this time, because it's important to keep in mind that people who can make a difference are often the people who have time on their hands, who have food, who have a roof over their head, who have time to read. Not everyone does. And
Mhm.
very often those voices aren't heard. So I have a lot of plans to expand the Foremothers Cafe. So that's what in part what I'm asking for funding for, is the expansion of the Foremothers Cafe, to bring in the voices of the other women, and not just in Sweden but globally. It's set in Sweden, but it's really a global community, and women's history is for the whole world. So
Mm. Thanks, Helen.
you're welcome. I can't see how many people are here, so I don't see if anyone else is holding up their hand or is, let me see. I don't know if I can change that. Oh, I can change that, I guess. But, or if someone wants to just shout out, please do.
Well, we're actually past 2:30.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think we've had a great introduction to the Foremothers Café. And
Oh, look, I see.
you put your link in the chat?
Oh, I didn't yet, but I see
Okay,
somebody
do
who
that.
has my book. I'm very excited to see that. Um, okay, let me see what I can do. So yeah, it's on the Engage platform. So
You should put your email in the chat as well. That's the easiest way to
yeah, let me do that.
embrace
Let me put my
communication.
email in here.
Yeah, let's do that. And I think that's the easiest way to embrace this communication. And
Okay,
of course,
sure.
we are
We can do
recording
that.
this as well. So for those out in the ether, please tell your friends, your colleagues. There are at least 6 people, yes, 6, who told me they couldn't make it and they want to see the recording.
Oh,
All women
fantastic.
producers. So that is a way to engender a visit to the
Sure.
Foremothers Café.
Yeah,
This is
sure.
super cool. I will say it in Swedish, Vildet cool. And really, obviously I've heard of this, now want to visit it. Great work. And Helen, thank you. And Michael, thank you for bringing Helen here. Michael, tell us who's coming in 2 weeks, because I think you've already teed that up.
Yes, we'll have Caitlin Krause talking about how she uses VR for her wellness sessions, and so designing for that, and another take on people working on this field and how they're using it in non necessarily entertainment ways.
And Caitlin, as we know, does amazing work in that field, and she has a great background. We look forward to that. So that's 2 weeks from now, which is right before
October.
Halloween. So
Yes.
don't go away for a long Halloween weekend. Stay here. Michael's going to host Caitlin Krause on Thursday, October 30th, in 2 weeks. But please give it up virtually for Helen Erwin and the Foremothers Cafe. This is great, Helen. Thank you so much. This means a lot to us, and not just because you're a New Yorker, but we love this work. So come back in 2 weeks, and until then, as I always say, be well, be safe, and be virtual. Thanks,
I
everyone.
love that.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. This was
Bye.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And